Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome everyone to the International Women's Day and the much awaited talk of today, which is going to be a panel on progress, not perfection. And we have experts from research and startup joining us. I'm sure you all know about GDG and Women Tech Makers, but just to give you a brief about what we do, Google Developer Group Doha started much back in about 2 years. About in 2018, we started by doing some events in QCRI, and we've been growing as a community now. GDG Doha is a community, a tech community in Qatar, which collaborates with a lot of organizations, and we do events like these uh, every month. So we also have a next event coming up in about I think March 9th. You can check us out on gdg.dev slash community. So that's where we are, and we are also on Meetup. You can follow us. In addition to that, I'd like to again introduce you to the International Women's Day, which is our today's event. The panel "Progress, Not Perfection" is to kind of give you two things, an overview about how research and startup sectors here in Qatar work, and how just like the theme of the panel itself, progress not perfection, how you should aim for progress even if it's like small steps in both research and startup. So hopefully that's going to be the takeaway, and with the amazing speakers on board, you're going to have a lot of fun, and you'll also get to ask them questions, interact with them live. Stay tuned. Let me first, without further ado, introduce the first panelist, who's Avneet Kaur. Avneet Kaur is the startup program manager at 360 Nautica. And 360 Nautica is a venture builder firm that invests in early and growth stage of startups in Middle East and Asia. All of you aspiring entrepreneurs, you know who to love, follow or catch up with after the panel. So she's a graduate from business management in Delhi University, and she's been working in the travel industry for about 12 years as a part of various organizations. And she was an entrepreneur just prior joining that. So she joined 360 Nautica in 2021. Welcome, Avneet. Great to have you
Thank you.
here.
Thank you, Wafa. So, okay, you want to go ahead and introduce Lamia?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Our next speaker is our next panelist is Lamiaa Basyoni. She just before a few minutes gave a talk about her PhD thesis. She's hopefully she's defended it, and she's a graduate student. She graduated in 2008 from the College of Engineering and has worked for about more than 5 years as a software and mobile applications developer, and she received her MSc degree in computer science from College of Computing and Information Technology in Arab Academy for Science and Technology in 2055. Sorry, 2015. Um, in her master work, she introduced DST based stenography method for 3D models, and you saw just like in the talk before this what her PhD thesis was about. And her research work is right now the PhD work she did was addressing performance and security issues in Tor networks. For those of you who didn't catch up, you can just subscribe to your YouTube channel and you can just refer the video before this. So her current research interests, Lamia's current research interests include privacy, anonymity, networking and protocols, and information security. So above all that, she's a researcher by heart, and if you have any questions about how to start with research or anything, she's your person. Now, just if I have to quickly introduce myself, I'll be the moderator for today's panel. Most of you guys know me as I'm the organizer of the Google Developer Group community here in Doha. I'm also a Women Techmaker ambassador. But in relation to this panel, like the topic of progress, not perfection, I relate more to the research and startup ecosystems because I've done like I'm a master's student and I graduated from Qatar University as well. So I have some bit of research experience, I can say. And if it's about like the business, I tried to have a startup. So I have taken the Lean Startup program and I kind of graduated from the Qubit Qatar Business Incubation Center. So now let me introduce the theme for today. Again, like you've been hearing progress, not perfection a lot. But what does it actually mean? So progress, as we all know, is like taking those tiny steps, and perfection, as you can see that even in those tiny steps, as we like try to just go in an endless loop where we keep doing the same things. We want to perfect it. We're not sure that we can launch this product. We're not sure that we can submit this thesis for a conference. We keep aiming for perfection. So that's perfection in a loop. It's just like, to put it in simple words, you're just perfecting your work in a simple loop. Whereas progress is like, it can be even taking a baby step on just like the research, like reading a research paper, or even writing two lines in your thesis. So I've been talking quite a lot, but to just sum up like the introduction section of our panel, can I like ask Avneet to maybe share like how you got into this field and what you find really exciting about your job?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here. What I find exciting about my job, well, a lot of things. I have been a part of the startup community since 2019, which is when first I joined Idea Camp. I went into Idea Camp just to see what it is, how does it work. I was a new mom at that time, and I had no idea what to do. Should I be working? Should I be working in a company? Should I be, doing a business? What to do? So I got into the startup community, and through connections is how I landed this job. What I most love about this is the power of creating an impact on so many people, so many entrepreneurs, so many organizations, people who are wanting to do more, people like me who are genuinely interested in upgrading the startup ecosystem in their country. So I sometimes I get scared by the kind of power that we have in changing people's lives. So that is one thing which is pretty interesting about my job, and I really like it.
That's amazing. Lamia, could you tell us like how you got into this field and what you find exciting about your job?
How did I get into computer science to begin with? I graduated computer engineering, as Wafa mentioned. I started working as a software developer. And the more I worked in this field, the more I felt like, no, I need to learn more about the science and the theory behind all these things. I'd like to know more about the topics of computer science. So I applied for my master degree in computer science. And after 5 years of working as a mobile application developer and software developer, I always felt like there is a limit for you creating solutions for a certain problem. The limit is the client requirements. You're working in the business sector. You're providing a product, after all, to the client. Yes, you might have different solutions. You would like to provide different perspective, but you're also limited by the requirement document. So I felt like I would like to explore more and to work on. If I have this problem that I'm passionate about, I would like to be able to create a proper solution that I think is good based on proper knowledge. And since I was working in banking sectors and so on, so I started learning more about the importance of protecting your data and and your privacy and so on. So I got this interest into security and networking security, to be specific. So maybe that's what shifted my interest in the research a little bit. And what I find interesting about the job is, well, the power, as Avint mentioned, but here the power to create something. You have a problem. Lots of people are struggling with it, but you are able to create a solution to this. So it feels good, and the challenges that you are facing every other day in order to come up with a good product. In the times where I'm working as a developer, or come with a good solution and actually provide something to the human knowledge when you're working as a researcher. It's interesting and it's exciting and it keeps you going, even if you face lots of difficulties all the time. So
That's nice.
yeah, that's what I like
Um,
about it.
it's really good that you both are really passionate about what you do, and you all have, like, I mean, you both have amazing stories of how you got here. So that I really found interesting. Lamia, can you like, we were really curious to know, like, how your daily life is like. What's your routine like? What do you do as a researcher every day?
Well, if I talk about my daily life, I will not be talking about the daily life of a typical
Yes,
researcher.
of course.
I will be
We want to
representing
know.
a very specific set, a mom researcher. So I will be talking a very limited subset of the research community here. Um, well, but I think in if you want to talk generally, most researcher spend most of their time reading. We read a lot, and the more we read, the more we realize, no, we still need to learn more. We still need to read more about this topic. And well, you read and you feel lost, and then you go try to develop your work, and you don't get proper results, or you don't get results at all, and you feel depressed. And you go to your dark place, and then you try to find some inspiration or something to pull you out of the darkness, in order to continue again with the cycle. So in general, this is what most researchers go through. Well, in my case, the hardest thing is to find time with the family and the research, and try to find this impossible balance here.
Yeah, that's always hard, and of course, mom's upset though. It's like it's quite representative, and a lot of us are eventually gonna be that. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Avneet,
Yeah.
we're really curious now to know like what generally startups do. Like how you've probably worked closely with a lot of startups. Like how are their daily activities? What do they do in everyday life?
So startups, well, it's they're basically trying to do everything, right? They're trying to gain hands-on experience on how to run a business, how to run a full-fledged business. um, they kind of, so if it's like one of the startups that are incubated in our office is fish.qa. Now I see both of the two co-founders, both of them running around the entire day. They're taking care of finance, of logistics, of operations, of scaling, of marketing, of technical, every single thing, right? So the both of them have decided that they've divided the tasks amongst themselves. They're trying to perfect what they're doing. They're also trying to learn more. And every time they learn something new, they just quickly run by us and say, okay, well, we've got an idea. Do you think this would work? And then we brainstorm further, and we see, okay, well, we think this is doable. Or if we come up with or if they are stuck somewhere, and we can come up with a solution with them, we regularly hold meetings together, and we find out solutions for them, that okay, if you do this, maybe it will work better, and there are higher possibilities for you to achieve your goal. So that's more like it. A typical day in a startup's life is just trying to get things done, trying to make it, because all of them are they're new to the entire scene, entire startup scenario, and how a company works, and they're just trying to do their best to grow. That's that's more like a typical startups uh, work day, in especially in our company.
Okay. That's really cool. I'm really like, glad they have 360 Nautica as their support to back up. Like, they quickly run to for any like if they want opinion on something. Kind of like, if you're stressed with your PhD work, like how you kind of run to your mentors. Okay, is this, the way to go?
Yeah,
So it's kind of like that, right? Like you're the mentor, and that's
yeah,
really cool.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges they face, Avneet? Like, you just mentioned Fish.qa. Like, what do you think are their biggest challenges?
Um, well, I would start off with the generic challenges which all startups face here. That is access to a common platform, right? Um, there is no central point of data or central point of information available for startups here in Qatar. The startup ecosystem is fairly new and it's still developing, and we as ecosystem enablers are also trying to make it simple for startups, for new startup founders, owners to kind of come in front and start their businesses. um the issue is they are not like, if you talk about market research, which is really important for a startup to do before they decide to launch their company. It's not easy to do market research here. It really is not, because a lot of information is not available. Even if you look at websites like Statista, which offer updated statistics, apparently a lot of reports are not available with them. Even if there are, they're either paid or just not up to date. So it's kind of difficult for a startup to get into full-fledged market research, get some data, for first-hand data over it, and then create a product about it. Another difficult point for a startup is also how to launch a company. That is one of the major pain points that I have been hearing by a lot of people. How do they launch their business? If they want a Qatari partner, how do they go ahead and find one? If they require funding, where do they go to find funding? If they want technological help, where do you go? Where do they go for it? So from our end, we also launched a platform called Doha Startups in late 2020. Last year it was pretty dormant because of COVID, and now it's getting back on track. We're trying to bring all the entities of startup ecosystem together on that platform, so everyone can register and get to know how exactly can they start their business in Qatar.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. So, do you have any solutions for the like the missing data part, like the not updated data part as 360 Nautica?
See, we do help a lot of startups in kind of guiding them, right? We act as a venture builder firm, not just a venture capital firm, because we help startups in growing, right? We also invest in startups that are early stage, in ideation stage, and we guide them through how can they which direction to go, how can they how can they possibly get in touch, who can they possibly get in touch with if they require some information. We have about 22 different brands here in Qatar, and that kind of helps us in a way that we can provide a lot of solutions, a lot of uh, information to the startups, a lot of help that we can provide to the startups through our connections that we have built over the past 15 years.
That sounds amazing.
So, yeah.
Thank you so much. So we do have like a lot of researcher audiences who are like, looking forward and hearing from Lamia, who want to know like what are the biggest challenges they face, and they want like some have their voices to be heard. So Lamia, can you like quickly tell us what are the biggest challenges as a researcher that you go through, or any researcher that goes through like while in the process of publishing their
Well,
thesis or publishing.
usually the biggest problem starts early before publishing and anything. It starts with finding good guidance. Well, similar to startups, we start not knowing anything, and we try to find someone who will be able to help us the process. So find proper guidance is essential to progress your research. There's also the problem I find it in most universities here in Arab world. I'm not sure any abroad how is it, but the lack of research groups, any proper research groups. Sometimes when you're working on like an separate island, you start addressing your research problem and you try to come up with a solution, but you feel like you're stuck and you can waste long time stuck at a certain problem. While if we are working in a research group, sometimes just brainstorming with this research group will give you ideas that will help you proceed, and always give you like a fresh perspective, like the perspective from an outsider. It always helps. So I didn't find this here in our universities, and sometimes it's not even it's very rare to find a group of researchers who are working on a general idea, and then every researcher is working on a specific problem, so they can all help each other progressing. So I think this is one of the problems here in our universities. Other thing is always the publishing requirements here. They always ask you to publish in journals, and while in conferences you can publish in a very good conferences with high reputation, and you will go through a good review process. But the thing is, you will get a response very quick. While when you are asked to publish in journals, you actually waste long time before you even get a response. It's one of the challenges we face in the publishing thing here in universities. So I think these are the main challenges we face as a researcher.
Yeah, it's interesting how like the first challenge you mentioned, like how there's no particular community or a research group, and Avneet was also mentioning like communities somehow like the solution for both the challenges. Like you need
Exactly, yes.
updated data for which you need to tie up with local organizations, and over here you're mentioning how like if I'm solving a particular problem, I do want to discuss and brainstorm with a research team. So somehow like the solution lies in the community, and it's really interesting that
Exactly.
we are able to arrive at that. So but I'm actually interested in knowing, Lamia, what are some ways like you think you're making a difference in the world, like as a researcher, as
Well,
Lamia.
it does not come like as clear for researchers as, for example, startup people. Yani once you get your company up, you can see the impact. It's there. But for researchers, it's not that clear sometimes, and you feel like yes, well, okay, fine. I did my research. I got my degree. What was that? What was the value of that? Actually, it's there once you contributed to the entire knowledge, the entire research. are humans by just adding a simple solution to a particular problem. Maybe it will building block there and will keep growing until they are actually able to reach a solid solution or a solid product that will help the humanity. And well, this is the thing in all fields of science. Like physicists years ago just put small law, and now they are using it to develop great machines to invade the space. So for researchers, it's not like something physical, and you can actually feel it. But I believe that once you contribute to the science, that's a small thing. Yani it's not perfection, as you mentioned. It's baby steps. It's there. You you put your like you put your marks in the world of science. And but the thing is, you have to be convinced with what you did. Yeah, and you have to believe in your work, and you have to well actually conduct solid research. That even if it gives you bad results, okay, so you yani, later on they will know that this method will not give us the best results or the things that we would hope for. So
True.
this is really important to conduct a proper research and solid research.
Yeah. And also, like, just how the nature of research is, like, how you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and you kind of build on, where the last person left. Or, that's like the nature of
Previous
citation,
knowledge, yes.
how they review things. And it's really interesting, like, how research in general is
Mm-hmm.
such like a backbone of, growth and economy and just like the world progressing. It's a contributor to,
Exactly.
like, just before a few days we didn't have COVID vaccines, and now like we're in a phase where everyone's vaccinated, and it's all due to research. And like the way they
Exactly.
complement them, and it's really like, yeah. So as a researcher, every day, every paper you read, every word you write is somehow like a contribution, like to the, it's making an impact. So, Avneet, what do
Exactly.
you think about startups? What do you think about startups? Like, what are some ways they make a big difference in the world, or even like a tiny difference? It doesn't really have to be like something special about it.
Um, well, if you talk about startups making, difference in the world, there are. I'd probably fall short on time in answering that question, because we have really seen some very, very, very interesting startups that have, come up to solve problems, a lot of problems, like fintech startups, right? They are solving the issue of carrying your wallet everywhere. You just you could just pay through your phone or your watch, or, right? If you talk about med tech startups, right? So there are a lot of health tech startups that are like, if you talk about, let's talk about Qatar. So you have Remads, right? In Qatar, Remads is the founder is Dr. Muhammad Hamoud, also a researcher. He created AV, which is AI based health application, right? It can diagnose your disease with pretty good accuracy, as I've been told. Um, you have fintech, you have health tech, you have um, there are a lot of disruptive tech startups that have come up. There is also MAR tech, which is marketing tech, which is coming up. Um, so the startups definitely have a lot of ed tech for that matter. Like, we have Modaris. So a lot of startups have created good opportunities across the globe in how they can make our lives easier, right? E-commerce is a major example of how our lives has especially during COVID, how easy it was to order groceries through talabat, or to you order food. So that is also one major aspect of how startups have the power to change the world, and they have been doing it. They continue to do that now. So I am really interested in finding out how the Qatari startup ecosystem shapes, and hopefully we get our first unicorn soon. But more than that, I'm really interested in knowing the different kinds of startups that residents and citizens of Qatar are capable of bringing forward, that can definitely change the way people look at this country, and we will be known for one of the most supportive startup hubs across the globe.
I mean, of course, 360 Nautica is like enabling us with all that. So, like, you're powering startups, and which we see, like, the change being applied, the impact being made sudden, like, Whereas with research, it's like you're inventing something. The I word invention comes a lot. Whereas for startups, it's more like, okay, there's a problem here. How do I fix it? And if there's a startup which is addressing that problem and enabling people with just like covering that hole or crossing that bridge, that's like more applied. I feel that's my perspective on how like
Yeah.
research or startups are making a
I
difference.
think research and startups go hand in hand, or research and any organization goes hand in hand, because without research, it is not possible to launch a business, to launch a startup successfully. If we do not have the research on how many people would be interested in buying a product or service that an organization provides, I don't think that business would be able to sustain at all.
So, so
Well, I
so we're
totally
also
agree. I
talking
think
about
more R&D centers should be like there for
yes.
combining the research aspects and develop products based on scientific research. So
Yes,
the more we have
specific.
R&Ds, the better it is.
Absolutely, vertical specific parks. This is one of the conversations that was brought forward by our managing director, that we require more of vertical specific parks. Like we do have QFTH for fintech startups, but we require that for the other tech startups as well, so that they can research better. They have a bigger organization supporting them in completing their research and applying for all the compliance documents that are needed for any tech startup to launch.
Sounds amazing.
Yes,
So we've
totally.
been discussing like big things like how you can make a difference in in this world like through your research or as a startup. Now like what these big journeys, of course they're a big journey, right? Like I mean they all begin with tiny steps. So in particular we have like a lot of audiences listening to this, and it's GDG Doha is a community filled with like undergrad students, graduates, software developers, people who are enthusiastic about tech. So it's general public, like So if we have to just like select a particular portion of the public and kind of narrow down tips. So I'd like to begin with Lamia, asking her for some tips about how like you can begin this big journey with small steps as a undergrad student. Like I'm just probably fresh out of college. I really know that okay, data science is something that's interesting for me. How do I like start out? Because I'm an aspiring student. What would you some of your tips be?
Well, the first step, I think, to know exactly what you want to do. Like, okay, fine. I think this topic is interesting, but do you really would like to spend years working on this field and trying to like gain enough knowledge in order to provide your research in it? So if yes, if the answer is yes, I am ready to spend at least 2 years for a master's. So that's a good start. But sometimes, yes, I feel I'm excited about this field. I would like to know more about it. But after like a course or something, that's it for me. I don't want to continue it. So I think the first thing to do is to actually decide what do you want to do. Do you really want to pursue a career in research, or you're just interested in a certain topic and you'd like to learn more about data science by attending a couple of courses, for example, to use it in your professional development career? Because recently, yes, lots of software houses are using AI-based technologies in order to improve their work, like natural language processing techniques and so on. So, would you like to use this knowledge into a professional developing career, or you want to pursue a really research career in it? So you really need to decide this at the beginning. The other thing is, always consider the slogan here for this event: progress, not perfection. Nothing is going to come in big inspiration or revelation to you. You have to start small steps. Even from my development year, there were these two models of developing. You start working on specific module, complete it entirely, and then go to the client and show it, and then you face lots of problems. It's not what's supposed to happen. But when you start small and you develop a little by little modules, you divide your big problem into small problems and you work on it. It's easier. This is the easier way to actually reach perfection. And instead of spending lots of time trying to work on a perfect version of your work, start small. And there's always this saying, I found it very good for researchers, especially with writing. We have lots of writing to do. It's always easier to modify a poorly written paper than modify a blank one. Well, you have your blank there and you're starting waiting for a big revelation in order to write a perfect paper. It's never going to happen. But if you start by putting whatever you have and start writing small paragraphs, and then you come back to it and you was like, okay, what is this? What was I thinking when I was writing this thing? And then you start modifying. This is the easiest way to reach perfection. And I'm not saying that I didn't do the first approach where I waited and waited and waited for the revelation. We all did the same mistakes. We all try to find perfection, but it doesn't work. You just waste your time, actually. So you start small steps. Once you decide exactly what you would like to do, take the first step and things will follow. So when Wafa was just saying that it's a journey and it's a big journey, you don't realize it's a big journey until you are near the end. You just start, you know you want to start, and you find your passion about continuing this path. And toward the end, you look back and you're like, oh yes, that was hell of a journey. It was long one. Yeah, I think this will be my advice to whoever would like to start with research.
Like
And of course,
knowing.
there should be actually an like entry prerequisites was like no history of blood pressure or heart disease in the family. This is a very important thing because before you start.
Yeah, I think that's a must. That's a very big prerequisite indeed. So, like, I mean, it's really good, like how you mentioned more. Like you gained some. I mean, you shed some significant amount talking about how you really are sure or not if you want to take this journey, and then get started. So I think
Yes.
that was important.
Because
Thank
we
you
we,
so much.
we saw a lot of cases where they started and at the just in the middle of the way they lost their passion. They realized that this is not exactly what I wanted to do. So like spend 1 year or 2 years and then you feel like no, I don't want to continue. So it's really important to spend more time at the beginning and figure out if this is the way you would like to continue or not.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks a lot, Sonia. So, Avneet, what do you think are some tips that you'd like to give to a layman, who's interested and aspires to become an entrepreneur?
I would, probably repeat what Lamia said. It's the same thing with startups. You need to know if you're interested or capable of picking up a project, because it's not easy. It's not an easy journey for sure. There'll be roadblocks. There'll be times when you want to quit. There'll be times when your patience will be tested, because you may run out of money. Maybe people are not liking your product. Maybe you're not able to understand what exactly the customer wants, and you want to develop it further, but you don't know how. Maybe one of your founding member quits. um, Maybe your business was impacted by COVID. So what do you do then, right? You, as an entrepreneur, you kind of need to make sure in your mind that come what may, you will do this. It will work. And this is a project that you are picking up because you genuinely want to make a change. You genuinely want to help people. uh, try to try to solve a problem which is actually a problem, not just because the entrepreneur sees it as a problem, so that they have gone ahead and launched it in the market. That's not how it works. You need to create a project, a product or a service that the customer is actually looking for, that the customer actually requires. So I would say, do your market research well before you even think of registering your company. Market research and customer validation are the two most important things for a startup. If you don't have these two, there's no point in launching your startup. So I would definitely say, um, do as much research as you can, do as much customer validation as you can, because then when you come in front of the investor and you show that you have these two, um, they would be more interested in knowing about or investing in your startup, knowing that you have done your homework, and it is a scalable business.
That's amazing. So, how do you think we can start with market research, or even like understanding who the customers for this particular problem is?
So a couple of steps. The most easiest easiest way to do market research is start with your friends. Go on LinkedIn, publish Google Forms. Go to if let's say you are an ed tech startup, go to universities and talk to students, go to libraries, talk to students, talk to teachers, talk to professors. See if they're validating what you're trying to create. If you are a health tech startup, go to doctors, go to hospitals, clinics, publish your Google form online, or even any public event. Just go there and talk to people. It's as easy. If you think that you're not getting the kind of data that you require, maybe it's not available online, maybe it's paid and you don't want to invest the kind of money to get the report, just do it. Because it's not easy. I'm telling you, because over here a lot of data is with the ministry and it's not allowed, or it's not easy to get it. So might as well just get on the road and start asking questions to people. It's not difficult, and people do respond if you are asking the right questions.
It's amazing. So, how does like 360 Nautica? I'm interested in knowing this because, like, I'd really like to direct a few of my friends and colleagues. So, if they are interested in solving a particular problem, which is not really like they maybe have done some market research, but how do you think they can approach investors with their idea?
But well, approaching investors, again, it mostly happens when you attend startup events. Mostly happens when you make connections on LinkedIn. Um, that's basically it. Or you search for investors. Um, on Google, you'll be able to see who all are, which all venture capital firms are there. in Qatar, especially, the startup community is really, really, really small. So it's not that difficult to kind of, know who the key people who are involved. If you pick up any upcoming startup events, let's say, okay, so like, every month we have a startup grind event wherein we have some key people involved in the Qatari startup ecosystem coming in, who are either guest speakers or attendees. So that is one place where you can meet people. LinkedIn is definitely really, really, really good for networking. That's so, and investors do respond. Like, you could just catch someone at that firm, speak with them, and they will pass on. Like, I have so many of my colleagues who are passing on contacts of people who either require some help or um, some direction, or would like to pitch to us. So
Sounds
networking is the key.
true. Like how attending these events and building connections is where you start. That's really a good point. Yeah.
Absolutely,
So,
yes.
Lamia, what do you think are like some of the like tips if you have to quickly summarize for an undergrad student like who wants to take a PhD? Like, are there like any programs or certifications that they have to go through, or is there like any course which says like okay these are the skills you need in order to pursue a PhD? Is there something which can like help a undergrad student understand that okay I want to pursue research or not, or do
Well,
you think often cases a certification is required, like how like for PhD students before even getting into research they are kind of like introduced with all these things of like okay how to do research. Are there some tips and pointers on like how if I know some things before I can help myself in this journey?
there are, I think there are lots of resources on the internet on how to conduct a proper literature review on where to get your resources, how you manage your resources, and this is like a key thing you will use throughout your research. Once you found the proper resource that is related to your research, you have to start managing them. So towards the end, you will have enough resources that will support your work. So lots of tools are being used and lots of online resources. So I think there is like few key things that any grad student need to learn: how to conduct a literature review, and how to manage your resources. Writing skills is very important, of course, because you spend most of your time writing, even more than you work on your research or anything. And there is also the presentation skills and how can you like formulate your you have the research problem in your mind, but how you properly formulate it and how you present it in your candidacy exam, for example, and so on. So these three skills are essential. You need to find, and I believe there's lots of resources provided by many universities around the world, and you can take it online to strengthen these three fields or skills in order to start with your research. There is another kind of decision problem you have to do. It's always remind me with this scene in Indiana Jones movie was the Holy Grail, where this old knight, and he told him he has to choose and choose wisely, because if you choose poorly, you're doomed. And this choice here is choosing your mentor. This is a very very serious decision you have to do. You have to choose your mentor who is approachable, who is ready to provide you with guidance and help, and that he's also interested in the same field. This is like your entrance to the research. If you choose poorly, you're doomed. You're literally doomed for the rest of your journey. It's like a couple of years you will be working with someone who you're not able to communicate with. The communication with your mentor is very essential, and how he will be guiding you into finding the resources, or like, no, this is not the proper way to go through notes, try different methodology, and so on. So yeah, and try to choose wisely, and I wish you all good luck if you're trying to go on this journey. Best of luck.
Yeah, I think these will be their small steps towards the big
Yeah,
journey they're
these
taking.
are the small
It's
steps to
really good
start
that
with.
you need to know how to do a literature review. You need to brush up on your writing skills, and the most
Yes.
important thing that you mentioned was like finding the right mentor. Like
Yeah,
that's really
this is the key.
yeah. So if you're applying for grad schools or anywhere, like try to find out your research interest, or even if not, like try to read up on the professor's scholar page and see if there's something that interests you and you can pursue that grad school. Or yeah, that's
Yeah,
really amazing. Thanks a lot, Lamia. Um,
yeah.
Avneet, just to like gear on that, are there any like quick tips that you'd like to give anyone who's like just with a fresh idea and really wants to pursue the startup? Like any certifications, any programs that Qatar provides for anyone who wants to like who have a high idea and they want to learn how to do market research and they want to learn how to do all these things that help them investor ready, that help them prepare their uh, pitch, as you would call it in your startup world. That would are there any certifications or programs that you'd recommend? uh, Avneet, I think you're on mute, so
2 years into this, still having difficulty.
yeah, that's okay.
But okay. Uh, so yeah, there are a couple of organizations here who are regularly offering workshops, like Founders Institute. Kiwi Tech is one. Kiwi Tech is a global company, and they're also here. So they offer virtual workshops for startups, whether it's how to do market research, how to be investor ready. Um, these are the two right on top of my head that you can access here in Qatar. But if you're a new startup, or if you're a budding entrepreneur and want to start your business, I would say definitely get on YouTube and and learn from people how can they how to be investor ready comes at a very, very, very last stage, because initially it's all about doing your market research, and also um, doing your customer validation. So like Lamia said again, for a startup, having a good mentor is beneficial as well. There are a lot of people in Qatar who are startup mentors, where you can access them. Again, LinkedIn. We are also onboarding a lot of mentors onto our platform. So that is another way that we're adding value to the Qatari startup ecosystem. But I think if people get on on LinkedIn and try to find out who is working where. um, there are a lot of startup coaches here, so they can definitely get in touch. Microsoft themselves are holding a lot of workshops now. Initially Microsoft used to only invest in growth state startups, but they have changed their entire program and are now known as Microsoft for Startups, wherein they're also investing in ideation state startups. So that is staying up to date with what's happening in the startup ecosystem also helps. It's not easy, but you know get in touch with people. Definitely contact them. Try to always ask for help. Never, ever, ever be shy to ask for help. That is going to take them a long way, because that's when you make a connection. You might not know who you are talking to, or
Yeah.
what the designation of that person is. I personally have just randomly spoken to people in Souk Waqif, and one happened to be the vice president for Shapurji Palonji here in Qatar. So I won't say stalk people,
Mhm.
but yeah, like short conversations, they don't hurt. Just send a hi, or a quick question to people on LinkedIn, or key people on LinkedIn. The worst they can do is just say no or do not reply, right? But if they do reply, maybe you have yourself a good mentor, a good investor, or sometimes it's both. Like, one of my favorite mentors, again from Qatar University, is Yuha is, he's an investor and he's a startup mentor as well. So he teaches, and he is amazing, for as a startup mentor. So you just when you start searching people on LinkedIn, you just keep getting the requests, and that's how it kind of, you get to see who's who, and then that's it. You start talking to people. Simple, not that difficult.
True. That's really true. I really liked how you mentioned, like community and events. I am, if I'm not wrong, you're also a part of Startup Grind here, right? Like you're the
Yes.
organizer of that. So if you can,
Yes,
like,
Startup Grind is its world's largest startup community. We, as 360 Nautica, are the chapter directors for Startup Grind Doha, and we host monthly events at whether it's virtual or in person. And we have key personalities from the Qatari startup ecosystem who are always attending as guest speakers, panelists. So that is one good place where new startup founders can come. They can speak with me. They can speak with the guests who've come. Last uh, last month we had Dr. Sitaraman, who is the CEO of Doha Bank, and Henk, who is the Chief Financial Sector Officer at Qatar Financial Sector. So, two very, very big personalities, key personalities, and they did speak to a lot of people. So, these startup events, they do help to a large scale. If I have a couple of startups who are coming in, like last week, I met with a startup who was ideation stage, very, very new. It had been like a month since he started working on the idea, but I did meet with him and kind of showed him the path, how to move forward. So it's not always about asking for investment. Sometimes you can also reach out to investors just so they can show you the path.
that's amazing. Um, So we've discussed, and hopefully, like the tips were helpful for any undergrad or anyone who's interested out there. So maybe we can like now, go to like the other age group, or the other kind of audience who are listening. So we want to now like gather some tips for people who are already like showing some progress in this field. They're not like at the start phase where they're beginning to take carry on the big journey, but they're rather like in a phase where they're trying to take small steps. So of course we know small steps are still progress. So what would you like to say to like the PhD students who are already like in the middle of a research, or any researcher who's trying to find a job in order to become a scientist? What advice would you like to give, Lamia?
Well, I'm not sure if I'm in a position where I can get advice. I'm still a PhD student myself. Yes, towards the end, but still. But
We're getting to
let me
the
say,
end line.
yes. But let me say that don't be don't be depressed when you feel like you're not going anywhere. This is what happens with all of us. Um, even the tiniest progress you make, and be proud of it, because as again and again, we'll keep saying it. It's not about big changes. It's not about big revelations. It's always about building on small steps. Create a good support community for you, because when it gets hard, you need someone to push you through the dark times, and have this kind of keep have some source of inspiration for you to help you when it gets very hard. Keep a good research community for you, even if it's not official, like a research group or something. Create your own community, have relations with other researchers. Sometimes, yes, they are not going to help you with your specific research point, but the feel that other people are suffering like you and the same problem are there will make it easier for you. Try to manage balance. The research work is never going to end, and you will never going to find enough time for it. So don't spend your whole day there. Try to balance it, because it's really helpful when you feel like you still have other parts in your life that are working. It keeps you going with the struggling parts in the research. Don't feel bad if you have, like, you tried the solution, it didn't work. And this in itself is results. So you tried an approach and it didn't go anyway. That's a result you can actually use. You can write about this kind of results. And it's always okay to change your approach or your methodology. I know we are always stressed because of the time and the deadlines that are chasing us all the time. But again, don't be scared to change your approach at any point of your work. And I don't want to encourage you too much to get into this because I don't want to have the blame and the burden on my shoulders. So I really wish all the luck for scientists, young scientists, and young women who would like to get into this field. Go ahead. I think you can do it. We did it, so I think you can. And for those who ever have like a daughter, a girl, a friend, a wife who's going into this journey, thank you for supporting, thank you for helping, and we hope there is more of you out there.
That's really amazing. How, like, the circle of care, support network, and having your own cheerleader helps, and
Yes.
that's really cool. Thank you so much, Lamia. What about you, Avneet? If you have to like share some advice for entrepreneurs who are struggling, because I'm sure as a program manager, you're closely working with startups, and not all startups are a big hit. Like you're saying, you're still in the hunt for a new unicorn, or a
Yeah.
unicorn at Qatar, right? So what do you think? Like, what would your advice be that you'd give to like the startups that are already incubated or are under 360 Nautica?
Um, I would say to not be uh, fixated. Like a lot of entrepreneurs make the mistake of of staying close, of staying fixed to their original idea. There should be always room for expansion, always room for more. As to maybe when they launch in the market, the market condition was different, but something happened, and now the market hasn't evolved. So they always need to be ready for change. We I do see a lot of startups struggling, but that is also because they don't want to pivot. Um, a lot of companies have pivoted from their original business model, and the new business that they came up with turned out to be a huge success. Right, there are big stories about such organizations like Airbnb, Uber, even a lot of fintech startups where when they started, they just wanted to be another bank, right? Another service for bank, but they turned out to be something else, like Paytm in India, right? That's what we see with a lot of fintech startups now. They're like, now they are a good part of the global economy, fintech is doing absolutely well, right? So I think it is really important for entrepreneurs to have an open mind and always think of how to solve a problem, even if that means that they would have to change their business model, and they would be moving away from their original idea.
Pivot is the word, right? Keep
Yeah,
pivoting,
absolutely.
iterate
Absolutely.
and pivot. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Avi. So, like any questions from the audience, I think we can take now, and I think we have a few questions. You can see it under your logo. So the question is for Lamia. How do you manage time as a PhD student? Do you use any tools? It's a question about time management.
Okay, I don't use like specific tools. I'm more of old fashioned. I like using pencil and paper and to lay down all my to do lists day by day. Of course, as a mother, there are always last minute changes. There are also lots of things that just come up and ruin your whole plan. So it's always challenging to find extra time to make up for this the commitment. But there is a tool I like to use just for keep tracking of my habits and to do lists, and I thought it's called Habitica. It's very good if you would like to fix like a habit. You would like to have a certain time in your day to read and you of course read papers or scientific papers or whatever. So this tool I use because it's kind of a game, so I like it. It's interesting. But other than this, I usually use like normal pen and papers just to make my everyday. But the thing is, I plan. You have like the long-term plan, but it's really important to have your also short-term plan very specific, because if you just only have your long-term plan, for example, I'm working on this paper and the deadline is like in a couple of weeks, you will find yourself at the end of these 2 weeks with nothing done. So you have to break down this long-term goal into shorter and smaller goals, and you try to achieve them by having like a daily plan, or at least by daily plan, whatever the tool used is, but just try to make it doable. Yani make your goals close and doable, so eventually you will reach your long-term goal. But yeah, that's what I use for my planning.
Thanks a lot, Lamia. So we also have a question for Avneet. Do you have any advice on? I mean, what advice do you have for new startups in Qatar?
For new startups, well, I would say, um, don't lose hope when you feel things are not going your way. Try to figure out solutions. If you can't find solutions, always ask for help. That would be my number one advice. And I would really ask, for startups uh, to kind of do their market research really well. If they have, if they have any trouble, that's definitely where that's definitely where the mentors come in. So search for a mentor, ask for help, and always do your research before you go ahead and plan to launch.
Thanks, Avneet. I think we have one more question for you. Is there any startup events coming where a new startup can pitch ideas?
Well, there are a lot of events which are holding place. As for from our end, from 360 Nautica's end, yes, we are planning investment events. The date on that event is not finalized yet, but what we're planning to do is host a monthly a monthly event wherein startups can come and pitch to investors. As for currently, there are events being hosted by Founders Institute, by Kiwi Tech. Again, these are the two most prominent names that I can always see are hosting events here in Qatar. Apart from this, there's Women in Tech. There is, if you look for startup accelerators in Dubai, they have a lot of online events going on wherein startups can definitely pitch their ideas, whether they are early stage or they're ideation stage, stage, or growth stage, all of them.
It's amazing. Is there a platform or a link that you point us to, like for following up with these organizations? Are they using Meetup or any other? Do they have their own platform?
Yeah, usually it's just Zoom. So you can search for startup accelerators on LinkedIn, and if and you'd be able to see the list of accelerators around you. If you want specifically in Qatar, do check Kiwi Tech and Founders Institute on LinkedIn. You'll be able to see that they are posting a lot of events. I
Okay, thank
can
you.
probably, I'm not too sure if I can write the name. Okay, I can. So it's um, Founders Institute, and it is Kiwi Tech. So,
Thank you. Thanks.
and to stay updated, you can contact us here. So these are, I've just put them in the chat. I'm not too sure if everyone can see it.
We can share that in the comments.
Great, great.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Avneet. Would you like to give some closing remarks because we do you
Sure,
have
it
any?
was it was really nice to be a part of this talk. I actually learned a lot about a researcher, and it's good to know that we have a lot of things in common. When it comes to a researcher and a startup founder, there are just so many things that goes both way. And I think what goes universal is the whole idea of the whole act of discipline or being motivated. I think that works pan industry, whether you're doing whichever industry that you're working in, whether you're in a job or whether you're starting a business or you're doing a research. I think being motivated really it really helps. If you lack interest, if you lack motivation, I'm not too sure, I don't think you're gonna get anywhere. So I think it was a great talk. I hope to see a lot of new startups coming up in this country. And if in case anybody requires any help, I'm always there. You can find me on LinkedIn. It's pretty simple. Just write Avneet Kaur and you'll be able to find, or even if you write 360 Nautica, you'll be able to see me under people. So that would be, I would be really glad to help people out.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Avneet. Lamia, anything you'd like to add, or do you think we're leaving out here that might be helpful for the listeners as a research?
Well, I also enjoyed talking with you today, and again, as we mentioned before, the research and development and startups are not that different from each other after all. So, um, plan good. Yeah, if I would like to leave you with some one tip is like plan good. Yani learn. You have your already. You learned your passion. You already have your motivation. So start by planning long-term plans that will go through the entire. Then think of it as small sub plans. Again, small steps, baby steps that will help you reach your final goal. I do believe this is the easiest way to reach perfection. You can reach perfection by progress, actually, by this thinking of it by little steps. So, and best of luck to whoever think of research.
Thanks a lot. That's actually a wonderful note to just close this panel on. And like you have mentioned, progress, not perfection. The theme itself is like encouraging you to focus on small achievements instead of the big end goal. So yeah, like this eventually like helps you at least take those small steps, and it's also about accepting that okay, this is where I am, and this is what you've done so far, and it's
Exactly.
it's actually a practice that we need to keep doing and be consistent. Like I feel like progress not perfection helps you teach, like helps you kind of get that discipline for yourself. Like, yeah, thank you, thanks a lot, Lee.
Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot for joining, and
Thank you.
thanks a lot for your wonderful tips and your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, and
Bye
stay safe.
bye. Yeah.
Bye.